The man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by the dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, whose errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows it in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Teddy Roosevelt, 26th President of the United States. So why would I have that amazing quote from a President of the United States at the beginning of a Dragon Ball Z video online? Pretty easily, it's because even though I'm going to criticize Dragon Ball Super, I have to give it a lot of credit for daring, trying, and it's easier for me to be a critic out here in the wild than it is to be in the arena. And so I have to give credit where credit is due. Even though I think there's a lot of faults to Dragon Ball Super, there's a lot of potential as well. And I only want to help them. I truly don't want to be a critic who's just nitpicking. I want to be somebody who actually makes a product better because I do love Dragon Ball and because I want it to succeed. And because as well, I'm not in there. I am not writing the show. I don't have to put my name on the line every single week and take all the blame if the story doesn't come through the way it should. Go out there and actually do it. Rewriting Dragon Ball Super. So we're going to start with Battle of Gods because it's obviously the first saga. The timeline that took place was 779 in Dragon Ball years, which was 4 years after Buu Saga. Instead, we're going to change it to 775, which is 1 year after Buu's death. That way it makes sense why everybody looks so young and looks the exact same way they did at the end of Z. So it's going to start off with Beerus waking up from this deep Sandman slumber, and he's far weaker than he originally was. Whis tells Beerus that he's been sleeping for the past 75 million years. He fills him in on what's been happening with the Elder Supreme Kai and what has happened on Earth. This gives Beerus something more to go off of than just chasing after the Super Saiyan God, because after this movie, Beerus is a great character, but he doesn't have any objective to go after. Once he has a Super Saiyan God, there's nothing for him to do besides sit around and eat. This gives him an objective to try to figure out what happened and why he was put into this deep slumber. So everything else in Battle of Gods is going to go pretty much the exact same way. A couple of differences, though, is Vegeta's not going to dance because, yes, that's funny, but you're making Vegeta way too much of a comical character when he is pretty much always serious. The ritual can stay the same, that's fine. Goku's not going to turn back to his normal Super Saiyan state by the end. He's going to stay red the entire time he fights Beerus. He's going to end up losing the exact same way. And the film's going to end the exact same way with it because I feel like overall that's a very good story with it. There's just a couple of beats that could have been done better. All right, second saga, Resurrection of F. Now this is going to take place in the original timeline with 779, which is going to be 4 years after Battle of Gods. For 4 years, Goku and Vegeta have been training with Beerus and Whis. Pan has been born. She's just a little baby at this time. Trunks and Goten are both teenagers. Trunks 14, Goten is 13. Everything largely goes the exact same as in Resurrection of F. Goten and Trunks are a little more punky teenagers in this, the way they fight. It's understood that Piccolo's power level is similar to that of Super Saiyan 3 Goku was in the end of Majin Buu Saga, and that Gohan has remained the same. The fights go largely the same. The only big difference is when Gohan fights first form Frieza, he's at about a standstill. And then when Frieza transforms into his final stage, then he one-shots Gohan. Super Saiyan Blue is not going to be introduced right now. That transformation will happen, just not currently at the moment. Goku and Frieza are going to fight the exact same way, except he's going to turn red and Frieza's going to be golden. They're going to fight pretty much to a standstill in the exact same ways in the movie. Frieza's power is going to burn out, though Goku's not going to be shot in the chest with a ray gun. Frieza's going to instead shoot him in the chest. Vegeta's going to go in there and save Goku, and then throw a Senzu Bean to Frieza to fight him one-on-one when he turns Super Saiyan God. When Vegeta and Frieza fight, they're the exact same power level, so they're both a little bit stronger than Goku. Vegeta's actually beaten by Frieza simply because Frieza starts playing mind games with him. And shout out to Saiyan Scholar because I took this aspect of the story from him when he wanted to do a rewrite of Resurrection of F. So shout out to him and his channel. Frieza does the exact same actions as he did in the Namek Saga, wraps his tail around Vegeta's neck, turns him around, and keeps hitting him in the kidney. This time, though, Vegeta has a vision of himself climbing to the chair of his father's throne. Vegeta returns from his vision in his mind, pulls off Frieza's tail from his neck, and gives him the exact same beatdown he did in Resurrection of F. Frieza is a poor sport, though, and goes to try to blow up the planet the same way he did in the movie. This time, though, Vegeta jumps in front of it and blasts it right back at him, killing Frieza, and giving Vegeta, yes, 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 giving him the victory, finally. No 3-minute time loop going back into it, none of that rewriting crap, none of that get out of jail free card, and Goku doesn't need the win. Vegeta does not need this win, but definitely feels satisfying having him finally beat a main villain. So that's going to be it for Resurrection of F. Universe 6 Saga. Now this is where big changes are going to start taking place. Beerus meets with Champa after finally waking up after so long. He accuses Champa of being the man who put him to sleep. Champa refuses, saying that was not his actions. Beerus still does not believe him and wants to fight him. The two get in this big aggressive fight like they did in the show. The angels step in and they say, well, we can't have you guys fighting. We cannot have a war between the Destroyer gods. So they decided to set up a tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7. The prize is going to be the Super Dragon Balls. And Beerus vows that when he wins, he's going to wish for the knowledge of who put him to sleep. So the teams are going to be, for Universe 7, it's going to be Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, Trunks, and Monako. For Universe 6, it's going to be Hit, Kaba, Khalifa, Frost, and Automagetta. Now this is what I'm talking about when it comes to that Teddy Roosevelt quote. Khalifa was not in the original Universe 6 saga, but because of hindsight and because I want to tell an arc with her story, I'm able to put her in this time. This is something the Dragon Ball Super writers at the time did not have the ability to do. So the way the tournament's going to be set up is it's going to be a random drawing, and whoever the two fighters are going to have to fight each other. So it's not necessarily who's just going to go whenever they want to. So after Majin Buu fails his test, Vegeta yells at Teenage Trunks to join the tournament. Trunks grunts, but ends up joining anyways. First fight is going to be Vegeta versus Automagetta. Now Vegeta's going to win the exact same way he did in the show, picking him up as a Super Saiyan and actually tossing him out of the ring pretty easily. The second fight is going to be Piccolo versus Frost. Now I like the idea of Frost being a hero. I think that's a cool concept that they should have ran with. I like the Saiyans being the exact opposite of the way they were in Universe 7 as well, being actual good guys. So Piccolo's going to fight Frost in a very fair fight. Piccolo's actually going to end up picking up the victory against Frost, but just barely, exhausting himself all the way as he does it. Frost isn't angry about it. He just says now that he needs to train harder and reach new levels of himself. Something great for his character to grow off of. The third fight is going to be Trunks versus Kaba. Now, Trunks and Kaba are going to be the exact same power level when it comes to their base. The only difference is, about halfway through the fight, when they're both even, Trunks decides he's going to wipe himself off and turns his back to Kaba and walks off and rings himself out. Vegeta is absolutely furious at him, yells at him, but Trunks doesn't really care, as he's still a teenager. After this, Kaba is shocked, but he takes the victory nonetheless. The next fight is going to be match 4, Piccolo versus Hit. Now, they both have an intense stare down with each other, as Piccolo feels Hit has a lot of power that he's not showing. And in 1 second, unseen by almost everybody, Hit beats Piccolo without a punch being really seen, as he uses his time skip ability to win. Piccolo falls out of the ring and loses. Match 5, Vegeta versus Kaba. Now this is largely going to go the same, except Vegeta is holding back when he fights Kaba. He uses Super Saiyan God the exact same way he used Super Saiyan Blue, and he beats Kaba with 1 punch, but he gives him the exact same respect as he did in the show. Match 6, Goku versus Khalifa. Now this is going to go largely the exact same way as Vegeta versus Kaba. The two are going to fight, and Goku's going to hold back a little bit. Now, Khalifa, having seen Vegeta go Super Saiyan, she's going to take a giant step back and try to do it herself. She's going to scream. She's going to do everything she possibly can, but nothing's going to happen. And then Goku goes Super Saiyan and one-shot her. She is infuriated by this, screams at him, is angry at him, but Goku bows to her and says that she is a great warrior. Khalifa doesn't really know what to say or to do when this happens, and so she just kind of mumbles to herself and walks off. Match 7, Vegeta versus Hit. Now this is pretty much going to go the exact same way it did in the show, except Vegeta is not exhausted when he fights Hit. Vegeta just naturally loses because Hit is that much stronger than him. Vegeta throws everything he can at him, but he's knocked out of the ring the same way Piccolo was. Match 8, Goku versus Hit. Now I really like this fight, and we're going to keep it all pretty much the exact same way as in the anime and the manga, except Goku's just going to be a Super Saiyan God. When he fights him, and he knows he can't win against Hit, so he decides to take it up to the next level, turns Super Saiyan Blue. And when he does, Beerus whispers to himself, saying, "One step closer." Goku's body, though, cannot handle the Super Saiyan Blue and ends up spazzing him out, and he loses the exact same way he did in the show. Hit goes on to fight Monako, and he loses the exact same way he did in the show. Funny stuff. Whis then goes and takes the Super Dragon Balls as Beerus and Champa are fighting each other because they're debating on whether or not what happened with it. Did Hit actually throw it? They're both really mad at each other. Whis decides to take the Super Dragon Balls, though, and hides them with Dende on the lookout. The Universe 6 saga ends with Goku telling Hit that he wants a rematch with him once he's mastered it. Vegeta's mad and says he needs to reach the next level, and Goku tells Khalifa and Goten that he will now train them himself. Vegeta does the same and tells Kaba and Trunks that he will now train them as well, setting up the next arc. Last, Frost comes up to Piccolo and asks if he would train him like he would everyone else. Piccolo is shocked by this, but agrees. This is the end of the Universe 6 saga. Part 2 will eventually come out, but let me know in the comments, guys, what you thought and what you would like to see changed about Dragon Ball Super. See you guys later. Rewriting Dragon Ball Super Part 2. This saga is the one that I wanted to rewrite the most because to me it had the most potential and was the biggest letdown. So let's do it. Goku Black Saga. Here we go. Returning from the Universe 6 tournament, the older generation wants to test the younger generation. So at Capsule Corp, they create a hologram version of the Super Perfect Cell when he returned from self-destruction to battle against Gohan. And they have Kaba, Khalifa, Frost, Goten, and Trunks all fight at full power against this hologram. And all of them get destroyed by him. Gauging where they're all at, each one of the masters takes their students off to go train. Piccolo takes Frost to train with him, Goku trains Goten and Khalifa, and Vegeta trains Trunks and Kaba. If they had in the anime, you could probably do some filler arcs with the training and more character development. But for this case, we're going to skip over it. The kids are going to return from their training. The first up is going to be Frost fighting Super Perfect Cell. Frost is going to end up defeating Super Perfect Cell. Then it's going to be Goten and Trunks. They're all going to defeat him the same way. Kaba the same way after they go Super Saiyan. The only one left is going to be Khalifa. Now, Khalifa is going to struggle against Super Perfect Cell because she cannot transform into Super Saiyan. During a tense moment of struggle during the fight, Super Perfect Cell looks like he's going to almost beat Khalifa to death. Piccolo wants to jump in and save her life, but Goku stops him and says she has to do this in order to transform because Super Saiyan comes from a need, not a want. So Khalifa, at her lowest moment, is able to transform and defeat Super Perfect Cell. Now, all the masters cannot argue with each other because Piccolo says Frost easily won because he didn't have to transform. Vegeta says both of his students are able to do it. He has 2 for 1. And then Goku argues that Khalifa was way better and Goten is too. During the argument with the older generation, the time machine appears in front of everybody at Capsule Corp. Everybody is shocked, especially when future Trunks falls out. Trunks, the version of himself in this current timeline, is especially shocked at this. And I prefer Trunks to look like he did at BoJack Unbound, because he looked like a skinny wimp in the original version, so we're going to give him some extra beefcake to him. Future Trunks is going to be 27 in this. It's been 4 years since he killed Imperfect Cell. Just as Trunks appears, Beerus and Whis do as well. Bulma examines the time machine and sees that it's almost destroyed and on empty. There's no way of fixing it currently. Whis and Beerus are incredibly angry at the Z-Warriors and demand that Piccolo, Vegeta, and Goku come with them to try to fix the time loop and send Trunks back to his original time. They all argue and try to say that they need to help Trunks, and they say they can have the younger generation go do it, and they all go with Beerus and Whis. The older generation of Z-Warriors, and with Beerus and Whis, go to the only man who has the ability to travel through time currently. That is Zamasu, as he is in his training to become a Supreme Kai with his master. He goes to get his time loop ring, but when he does, he sees that it's stolen. Beerus and Whis and the rest of the Z-Warriors are very skeptical and believe that he has something to do with this as well. Goku wants to fight Zamasu like he did in the show, except Zamasu is a much better fighter. Goku is able to defeat him, but only after he goes Super Saiyan 3. Bulma says she'll take care of future Trunks, so the younger generation decide to go to Korn's tower to get some sensu beans for him. As they do, and they come out of the tower, they see 2 evil Kais standing there. Now, these are normal Kais, not Supreme Kais, but they say that they are the evil versions of North Kai and South Kai. You're going to Kai Black for both of them. That works too. The younger generation joins together and fights against the evil Southern Kai. They're at a stalemate with each other. That is until Gohan arrives. Gohan arrives and he's able to defeat the Southern Kai by himself. The more powerful Northern Kai then steps in. He is a much more smaller man, but much more powerful than the former Southern Kai. Gohan is absolutely destroyed by him, as well as the younger generation. Piccolo, Goku, and Vegeta show up just in the nick of time to save them all. Piccolo says he'll fight the Northern Kai himself, takes off his gear, and absolutely destroys the man. Before Piccolo can land the final blow, though, he escapes using the time ring. Most people are pretty shocked at how powerful Piccolo has gotten, and even he says he's surprised himself with how far he's come with his training. Giving his sensus to everybody who has just fought, they return to Capsule Corp and give Trunks the last one. Trunks wakes up, and they all tell him that he has defeated the two enemies that were chasing after him. And Trunks is confused, and he said there was no two enemies, only one, and that was you, Goku. Trunks stands up and he punches Goku just like he did in the original show. The two have another fight, but Goku mentions that Trunks is even more powerful than him and Vegeta were during the Majin Buu saga. Goku wins the same, and then Trunks tells them about Deborah and the past that they had with the former Supreme Kai. And Beerus is shocked just as he was when they hear that Supreme Kai had died, and so Beerus in his timeline had also died. Gohan volunteers to get more sensu beans, as they don't know exactly what's going to happen next, and if this mysterious foe will return. But just after Gohan does, and Goku and Trunks have their fight, the black portal opens, and Goku Black steps out. As Goku Black appears, he holds the beaten Northern Kai and destroys him with a ki blast. Goku Black looks at Vegeta and Piccolo with absolute disgust, and then looks at himself and questions what could have been him. Goku volunteers to fight Goku Black first. Now, Goku goes through Super Saiyan 2, and Super Saiyan 3, but just in his base, Goku Black destroys Goku. Finally, Goku turns Super Saiyan God and has the advantage over Goku Black. Goku Black then powers up his base form to its full power, and then takes the advantage once again on Goku. Goku decides that he has had enough, goes blue, and is able to take over the fight once again. Black then takes a step back, goes Super Saiyan, and one-shots Goku, knocking him out cold. The rest of the Z Warriors stand up to try to fight Goku Black, but stand absolutely no match to him. Future Trunks even breaks his sword. Goku Black then decides to gather enough energy to destroy them all. Beerus steps up and ponders to himself. Whis looks at him and simply says, "Remember the code." Beerus mumbles to himself. Vegeta stands up as him and Trunks are the only two people left conscious. Vegeta's angry as he's going to have to watch another world be destroyed. Trunks then tells him that Goku Black killed Bulma in his timeline. Vegeta, having enough, transforms into Super Saiyan Blue. Vegeta at Super Saiyan Blue and Goku Black are even. Gohan returns with the sensu beans, and Goku Black stops as he's staring at Gohan. Vegeta takes advantage of the situation and punches Goku Black right in the face. Goku Black is then pulled into the time loop. Future Trunks then tells all the Z-Warriors about what had happened in his timeline. Goku Black didn't completely destroy the city, though he was attacking him. Mai is carrying a very injured Trunks into the time machine. Future Trunks is still somewhat conscious, but not fully. They see Bulma distract whatever this dark figure is and engulf him, just as they did in the show. Mai becomes infuriated and shoots at Goku Black, and sends Trunks just off before he passes out in the time machine. Now, I really don't like Mai being the original character that she was from Dragon Ball, but for the sake of the story and for simplicity, we'll just call her the same name, but we won't think of her as that same character. We'll think of her as a brand new character. Gohan and Bulma are going to work together to fix the time machine and even make it bigger so they can fit everyone in it to return to the future and help Trunks. Goku, Khalifa, Goten, Piccolo, and Frost all decide to train at Master Roshi's for the time being. Vegeta, Trunks, and Kaba and Future Trunks all go train at Supreme Kai's planet, as Future Trunks knows that very well. During the training, Future Trunks talks to his present timeline self. He tells him about his life and his experiences. This in turn changes present Trunks from being a very selfish character to much more humble and hardworking. Vegeta puts his royal crest on Future Trunks, present Trunks, and Kaba's uniforms, symbolizing that is his students. Goku does the same, putting the turtle symbol on Goten, Khalifa. 3 months later, the time machine is fixed, and all the Z Warriors have completed their training. Before he leaves, Supreme Kai gives Future Trunks a brand new Z sword and enter into the time machine, going to Future Trunks' timeline. Trunks is brought to tears when he sees Mai in the future, and Vegeta is even more angry once he sees Bulma's grave and vows revenge against Goku Black. Everyone is shocked when they see that Future Trunks and Mai also have a child together. While waiting for Goku Black to return, Gohan looks around at this future timeline and sees what his life could have been. He even goes to the grave of future Gohan to mourn what could have been him. At this time, too, he feels another presence as somebody lands behind him. Goku Black arrives with 2 evil Kais, the Western and the Eastern. Western and the Eastern fight the Z-Warriors with Piccolo and Goku, while Goku Black and Vegeta fight one-on-one once again. The two are vastly stronger than they were during their first fight, but are still even. Returning to Gohan, it is revealed that Zamasu is behind him. Zamasu then reveals his plan and what has happened with his past. That he is not the Zamasu from his timeline, but from future Trunks's. After the death of the Supreme Kai, he was chosen to take over his position. But when he did, a fear grew over him, a fear of death. And in this fear, he wanted to create his own utopia, where the Kais would live as gods. So to bring his plan to fruition, he would destroy the god of destruction in his timeline and take his power. Though that power is not as great as Beerus's, it increased his power dramatically. He tells Gohan that he is far superior to the Zamasu in his timeline, and that this will be over quickly. Going in for the punch, Gohan blocks him to the shock of Zamasu. Gohan reveals that he has been training in Vegeta's gravity chamber while he was working with Bulma. The Z-Warrior triumph over the eastern and western evil Kais. With that, they joined Vegeta to take on Goku Black. Goku Black then decides to take a step back from his even fight with Vegeta and transforms into Rose. As Goku Black transforms into Rose, everyone is shocked at the power of Goku Black. Even Gohan feels him from so far away. And in this distraction, Zamasu blasts Gohan. Vegeta stands up and he tells Goku Black that it doesn't matter how much more powerful he's gotten. He killed Bulma, and he will never forgive him for that. Charging in for the attack, Goku Black raises an eyebrow and is confused, but swipes away Vegeta as if he is a fly. The rest of the Z-Warriors fight Goku Black, while Vegeta tells Goku that they must fuse using his Batara earrings. Goku is shocked that Vegeta would ask him to do it, but agrees. When Vegeta and Goku fuse and make Vegeta blue, he is far more powerful than Goku Black. The two stop fighting as they look up and see Zamasu holding a half-alive Gohan. Much like Cooler did in his movie, he drops Gohan and blasts him. Goku Black is shocked by this and wants to rush after Gohan, but Zamasu appears behind him and steals all of his power, leaving him a shell of himself. Zamasu then blasts Goku Black and leaves him for dead. Ultimate Zamasu is born. He fights Vegito, but to a losing effort. Vegito charges up a final Kamehameha in order to kill him, but just before he lets loose the blast, Zamasu unleashes a technique which unfuses the two of them. Shocked, they say fusion is supposed to be permanent forever, but Zamasu explains that's only for the Kais, and that mortals have a time limit. Zamasu's technique merely sped up the time that was left. Zamasu then blasts the Potara earrings, destroying any attempt they would have in the future of fusing. Goku tells the other Z-Warriors to hold off Zamasu as he charges the Spirit Bomb. They do, and once Goku has completed the Spirit Bomb, he's about to throw it and kill Ultimate Zamasu, though he appears before Goku, kicks him in the face, knocking him out. Zamasu then stands up and proclaims himself the new god of this utopia. He also tells them of his plan, that he went to the current timeline of the Z-Warriors, took the Super Dragon Balls, and wished for immortality. Zamasu then reveals that it was he who killed Bulma, not Goku Black. Present timeline Trunks, against all logic, attacks Ultimate Zamasu in his base form. Zamasu swipes him away, and then charges up a Ki Blast in order to kill everybody. Once the blast is let off, Future Trunks feels like he's lost another future, and lets go of all of his anger, and turns into Super Saiyan Rage. Beerus shows up and creates an energy field protecting everyone from Ultimate Zamasu's Ki Blast. Future Trunks fights Ultimate Zamasu with the tenacity of a Tasmanian devil, but still isn't as strong as Ultimate Zamasu. Present timeline Zamasu shows up and goes to a wounded Goku Black, asking him if he was willing to fight for them. Goku Black agrees, and Zamasu gives him a bit of his energy. Together, present timeline Zamasu and Goku Black fight Ultimate Zamasu. The two Zamasus have a battle of ideologies with each other, going against Utopia and for it. As the three fight, Ultimate Zamasu charges up a sword and goes to stab his counterpart self, as he hates him because he was something better than he is. Goku Black shoves Zamasu out of the way and takes a stab right in his chest, falling to the ground motionless. Future Trunks now has absorbed the Spirit Bomb into a sword and charges after Ultimate Zamasu. Present timeline Zamasu holds his counterpart still using a technique, as Future Trunks slices him using the Spirit Sword. Ultimate Zamasu cannot obviously be killed, so in this scenario, all the power from him is being ripped out, leaving him with the power of only an infant child. Current timeline Zamasu is going to take him and put him in the imprisonment of the Kais. Whis heals all the Z-Warriors. They all go up to Goku Black, who has one last thing to say before he dies. Goku Black decides to tell them all his backstory and what had happened with him. Goku Black tells them that he is Goku, but from a different timeline, one much darker than his own. Zamasu had used a time ring to go back in time and catch Goku before he fell and hit his head. Goku ends up living his life very similar to the way he did in the original Dragon Ball. He kills Grandpa Gohan the same way. He fights Master Roshi in the finale of the 21st World Tournament. He has his tail removed by Master Roshi, but he ends up defeating him instead of losing to him. He destroys the Red Ribbon Army just as he did in the original show. He wins the 22nd World Tournament against Tien. He kills Demon King Piccolo. In the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament, Goku fights Chi-Chi and agrees to marry her just like he did in the show. In the finale, Goku fights Piccolo Jr. once again just as he did at the end of Dragon Ball, except at this one, he kills Piccolo Jr. at the end. Kami also dies, which means there are no more Dragon Balls left in the normal timeline. and they go off and get married just as they did in the original show, and eventually have Gohan. Raditz shows up the same way, except Goku is able to kill him alone. He gets permission to train with King Kai from Kami, even though he is not dead. Goku trains with Krillin and everyone on the lookout during this time instead of with Piccolo. Goku kills Nappa and allows Krillin to kill Vegeta in the Saiyan saga. The Z-Warriors still travel to Namek to revive their lost friends. Frieza kills Krillin in the Namek saga just as he did in the original, and Goku goes Super Saiyan. When Goku arrives on Earth after the destruction of Namek, he's too late. He didn't learn instant transmission in this timeline. The Earth is left in flames, and Goku goes home and sees that Frieza has killed his family. Chi-Chi, Ox King, and Gohan. Goku goes into a rage and kills Frieza. In the flames of war, Zamasu shows up and offers Goku a chance to revive his lost family and to see Gohan again. Goku agrees. After telling everyone his backstory, Goku Black looks up, smiles when he sees Gohan, lets go, and dies, having his wish be fulfilled of seeing him one last time. The Z-Warriors are returned to the present timeline, and Future Trunks tells his goodbyes to everyone with Mai and their child. Bulma is especially elated at seeing the baby, and tells Vegeta that she wants another one. Zamasu is then offered the position of being Supreme Kai in Future Trunks' timeline. He refuses, saying that they already tried that and it didn't work, but after being told that he is a different version of himself, proved himself to be worthy of being of Supreme Kai, he agrees. Just as everybody is celebrating this great victory, the Grand Priest shows up. Not Zamasu. I hate Zamasu. That character is not going to be in this rewrite because I just despise him so much. But the Grand Priest is going to show up and tell Beerus to come with him as the royal guards arrest him. Beerus is brought before all the destroyers and angels in a trial. The Grand Priest leads it and says that he is being charged as breaking the rules of the destroyers, that they are only supposed to destroy, not interfere with mortals. Beerus steps up and says that he was only trying to protect them, and then he demands a trial by combat. Much like in the manga, a few of the destroyers get together to fight Beerus. Beerus is still pretty strong against all of them, even in a weaker state than his original power. The Grand Priest eventually stops it by saying that this proves nothing and that they are breaking the rules even further by having a civil war within the destroyers. Beerus still demands a trial by combat, so instead of having Beerus fight, they're going to allow him to choose several champions from his universe. Other universes' destroyers are allowed to have their champions from their universe fight against Beerus's, but if their team is eliminated, then that destroyer will be erased from existence. Only about 4 of the universes decide to do it, with Champa's and Belmont's being one of them. One of Belmont's groupies laughs at him, asks why would he even want to risk something so insane. He gives her a dead look, and she seems to be taken over, bows her head, and remains quiet the rest of the time. Beerus is locked away in a prison, and Whis is being charged with recruiting all of the mortals to fight for Beerus. They decide to have a test run though, so Whis gets Goku, and from Universe 11, Belmont gets Toppo to fight Goku. They fight like they do in the show. Goku only goes Super Saiyan 3 and then is defeated by Toppo, who doesn't waste any time going full power. They only have 2 months to prepare for the tournament. Goku tells Whis that he feels guilty not only for losing against Toppo, but for not being strong enough to defeat the enemies on their own and having to rely on Beerus. He takes command and says that he will recruit the team. The team will be allowed 12 warriors in total. 4 teams will compete to see the guilt or innocence of Beerus. Back in Universe 11, the Pride Troopers, led by Toppo and Dispo, are fighting against Analanza. Their power is outmatched by him as he's almost destroying an entire city on a foreign planet. The Pride Troopers do everything they can to protect them, but are about to be killed. That is until Jiren shows up. Jiren alone is able to defeat the monster, and once he does, he goes up to the people and asks if they're okay. The other Pride Troopers congratulate him on his victory, but he shrugs his shoulders, simply saying that he was doing his job. Belmont comes up to Jiren and asks him personally if he will be joining in the fight against Beerus. Jiren rejects, saying he has no business with the destroyers. Belmont then tells them that Hit will be there, and that they can have a rematch after their first battle. Jiren is very interested, but then shakes his head, saying there are still more important things. Belmont then promises Jiren that if they win, he will use the Super Dragon Balls and wish to know who killed his parents. Jiren has heard enough, stands up and says he will join the fight. Back in Universe 7, Goku is able to easily recruit Gohan, Vegeta, Piccolo, Goten, Trunks, and 18 right off the bat. He tells Krillin and Yamcha that he wants them to fight as well. They both refuse at first, saying that they're far too weak to help do anything, but Goku says there are ways to improve their strength, and so the two agree. Goku then searches for Tien, as they have lost contact with him over the years. They find that he is a dojo teacher in the mountains. He also tells Tien the same thing. The two fight, and Goku is very impressed by how powerful Tien has gotten. He tells them the same thing that Yamcha and Krillin had, that he's simply not strong enough to do it, but Goku reassures him that they will have the ability to teach him new techniques and reach new power levels. Tien then agrees. Goku then goes up to Majin Buu and asks if he will join the fight. Majin Buu asks if he will be given candy if he fights. Goku says that he can have all the candy he wants to so long as he fights, so Majin Buu agrees. The 12th and final spot on the team, Goku ponders on who could possibly be it, and then he remembers that Android 17 is still alive, so he decides to go after him, finding him as a ranger in the park. He goes up to 17 and asks him if he will join. The two have a back and forth, and eventually they come to a gentleman's agreement with a fight to see how powerful each other are. Goku is very impressed, and Android 17 even pushes Goku to go red before he can finally stop him. Android 17 is shocked at the power and asks, "What is this?" He says it's a power far beyond that he could possibly imagine of getting to, and that 17 can reach the same power. Android 17 still says no, as he's not that interested in power anymore, and he also says he has no care for destroyers. Going back to Capsule Corp, he tells everybody the situation. Android 18 steps up and says she'll talk to him. Android 18 goes up to Android 17 in the forest, and the two have a private conversation. The two have a flashback going back to the Cell games. In the flashback, Android 17 and 18 have a discussion on what to do next. Android 18 is very conflicted as she doesn't know what she wants to do next, but doesn't just want to party, which is all Android 17 at the time wanted to do. They have a fight, and they haven't spoken to each other since that day. Android 18 is introduced to Android 17's children. She is shocked by them, and eventually she asks Android 17 if he will please help them, and he agrees. In Universe 6, the Saiyans begin to train, and they train with Hit, and they have a new member, Kale. Kale is going to be just like she is in the show, very shy and quiet. Hit demands that all the Saiyans transform to the highest power level and attack him one-on-one, and that this is the beginning of their training. Frost decides to go train off by himself, trying to enter new limitations that he can break through. In Universe 7, they begin to train. Goku, Vegeta, and Majin Buu train together. In the Supreme Kai's planet, Gohan goes to complete his training with the Elderly Kai, with Videl, Hercule, and Pan. Piccolo, Android 17, 18, Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin all train on the lookout using the hyperbolic time chamber, as well as training with each other. Goten and Trunks train with Whis. Even though I feel this part is definitely a cop-out, we're going to use Majin Buu falling asleep. This is going to be one day right before the tournament begins, so they're going to be short the 12th man. So to make up for this, Goku scrambles and he doesn't know what to do. So he decides to do the only thing he knows possible. Goes after Frieza. Frieza is brought before everybody, and Vegeta tells Frieza if he tries anything, he will destroy him and send him back to hell himself. Frieza only laughs. Goku then tells Frieza that he has to go to the hyperbolic time chamber to train for the one day in order to gain more power. Frieza emerges just in time. Whis then appears to take the group to the tournament. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, 17, 18, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha, Goten, Trunks, and Frieza prepare to leave and begin the Tournament of Power. When the Dragon Team arrives at the Tournament of Power, they look out on the stage and they see that it's not just a plain marble top. It has different aspects to it, like a forest and an Arctic section with it as well, not just a plain marble top. All the teams for each of the universes arrive, and they're all ranked on the average power level of each of their mortals from their universe. Universe 11's at the top, then Universe 6, then Universe 2, and lastly, Universe 7. A lot of the Pride Troopers laugh and say that Universe 7 will be eliminated quickly and that Beerus will be erased soon. But Jiren says, don't be fooled. Universe 7 is far more powerful than you think, and even that Goku who Toppo fought is far more powerful than you can ever imagine. Beerus is allowed to sit in the stands. He understands why his brother is trying to go after him. He doesn't understand why Belmont, and then he asks Hellas, why are you doing this? She reminds him that he broke her heart by stopping talking to her so long ago. Beerus then reminds her that he was put into a coma. She ignores it and says that that's just an excuse. Jiren and Hit stare down. They think back to their last fight they had against each other. Jiren was able to win against Hit, but that's only because the other Pride Troopers interfered, which greatly infuriated Jiren. He tells them that this time, no interference when he fights Hit. He will fight him alone, and he will win. The tournament begins. Massive explosions as they're already fighting each other, just like they did in the original show. The first two fights we're going to focus on are Vegeta versus Kaba. Piccolo is going to fight the evil Namekian from Universe 6. We're just going to have him look like Lord Slug to make it simpler. He is the last of the Namekians of that universe, and he is the evil version of Guru. Going over to Krillin, Krillin knows that he can't match the other fighter's power, so what he lacks in pure raw strength, he makes up for with his technique, being a master technician while fighting the other fighters. Yamcha, on the other hand, has become a drunken master. Fighting pretty well in his drunken state, he knocks out a few opponents from Universe 2 and 6, but in his drunken state, he slips and falls and knocks himself out of the ring. He laughs it off as Beerus stares daggers at him. While Jiren is searching for Hit, he runs across Tien. He tells Tien to move and that he has no business with him. Tien then assures him that he has increased his power dramatically, and he says no matter how powerful you've gotten, mortal, you'll stand nothing against Jiren. Tien then reveals that he's mastered the art of the Kaioken, powers up, not with a multiplier, but unlocking its true power. He fights Jiren, and Jiren is shocked at how powerful this mortal. While Kaba and Vegeta are fighting each other, Vegeta powers up to Super Saiyan God and is more powerful than Kaba's Super Saiyan 2. Kaba says it's just not fair. That is until he turns Super Saiyan 3. This forces Vegeta to go blue, and the two have an even stalemate of a fight. Vegeta's proud of Kaba and how far he's come, and is glad to call him a student. The two get separated by a massive explosion, stopping their fight. Back to Krillin, he's fighting Dispo in an interesting matchup between technique versus speed. But in the end, Dispo overwhelms Krillin and knocks him out of the ring. Krillin is not sad, he is happy with how far he's come and proud of himself. Kaba then meets up with Khalifa and Kale, and the three fight against Android 17 and 18. They completely overwhelm the two androids, and eventually combine their power together and knock out both Android 17 and 18. But Android 18 sacrifices herself, throwing Android 17 back in the ring. Back to Jiren versus Tien. Tien is fighting at an amazing rate against Jiren, but he's eventually overcome by Jiren. Respects him as a warrior, having a few scratch marks on him. Jiren powers up to the next level and knocks out Tien. Tien smiles as he's eliminated, knowing that he fought against the strongest and was able to put up a good fight. Goten and Trunks stand before Hit. They both go Super Saiyan 2 and then fuse into Gotenks. As Gotenks goes Super Saiyan 3 and the two fight each other. Hit overwhelms the two boys using his time skip and eliminates them. Beerus begins to sweat, as he knows a lot of his team has already been eliminated. After Hit eliminates Gotenks, he looks up and sees Jiren waiting for him. The two have a stare down just before they begin their battle. Piccolo is able to overwhelm and defeat the evil Namekian. As he does, the evil Namekian sits by himself and thinks about his life, contemplating where he could be going and what could have been him looking at Piccolo. Piccolo is then able to defeat the last member of Universe 2, eliminating their team from the tournament. Hela looks up to Beerus before she is erased. She blows him a kiss and is then erased from existence. Beerus feels shame for what has happened, and he has dragged so many people down with him. Kaba by himself, Android 17 appears behind him, yells at him, and tells him to turn around, and says he wants revenge for his sister. Kaba agrees and the two fight. Piccolo and Frost find each other. The two fight, and Piccolo says he's so amazed by how far his student has come. Frost then transforms to his golden form and eliminates Piccolo with tears in his eyes. He says he's so happy to have met Piccolo and to call him his master. Piccolo says the same, bowing his head. Kaba and Android 17 have had an intense fight. They're both beaten down and worn out. Kaba and Android 17 are evenly matched. They have a ki battle against each other, and the two ki blasts explode, destroying the ground underneath Kaba, eliminating him, and having a bunch of rubble fall upon Android 17. Kaba is ashamed that he has lost, but looks up to Vegeta and says, "If I can't, then you can. Win this for me, master." After Frost has eliminated Piccolo, Frieza appears from the shadows, a dark presence over the ring. Frost knows that he is an evil version of himself. Frieza then goes golden in the two fight. Frieza is able to defeat Frost, but doesn't eliminate him, stomping on his chest and torturing him. Eventually Vegeta has to come up behind Frieza and tell him to eliminate him. Frieza smiles and kicks him off the ring. The fighting in the tournament stops at once, as all eyes are turned to two men, Jiren and Hit. Hit falls to a knee before Jiren eliminates him, to the shock of everyone. All the destroyers agree. Jiren is unstoppable, and he will win the tournament by himself. Goku finds Khalifa from across the tournament. He walks up and asks if she's kept up her training. She smiles and then goes Super Saiyan 2. Goku then also smiles and gets into his fighting stance. The two fight and are pretty evenly matched as Goku's at Super Saiyan 2. Kale's on the sideline watching, getting more and more emotional with each punch Khalifa takes. She eventually rages out and then goes legendary Super Saiyan against Goku. He does a Kamehameha against her, and she still just stands there just like Broly did in the movie. She then goes controlled Super Saiyan Legendary 2, and her and Khalifa fight against Goku. Goku goes Super Saiyan 3, but is overwhelmed. He then goes Super Saiyan God, and is able to control both of them. The two girls then decide to fuse and make Kefla. Goku then transforms to blue, but is still outmatched by Kefla, as she is in her legendary 2 Saiyan form. Goku is then able to do it, and then is able to transform to the initial Ultra Instinct form. He's overwhelming Kefla, but eventually the power runs out as he's not able to control it. Gohan then appears from the shadows and tells his father that he will fight Kefla. The two fight each other just as they did in the manga. Frieza then comes up to Goku and gives him a bit of his energy, restoring Goku back to his full power. Frieza then smiles and laughs. Goku and Vegeta then team up to fight against Jiren, just as they did in the anime. They both power up after seeing Tien unlock his true potential. They do the same for Super Saiyan Blue. 2-on-1, they're able to overwhelm Jiren. Going back to Gohan versus Kefla, the two are exhausted, and the two knock each other out of the ring, as Gohan, Kale, and Khalifa are eliminated from the tournament. Champa looks at Beerus, does the same thing he did in the show before he's erased from existence. Beerus feels at his lowest moment at this time, as he's lost his own brother. Android 17 then picks himself up from the rubble and teams up with Frieza to fight against Toppo, to overwhelm the man until he turns into his God of Destruction form. Now they explain that he is on the same level as the destroyers, but not as powerful as them, as he would be technically the weakest of them all. Toppo then knocks the golden form out of Frieza and beats the crap out of Android 17. This is when Vegeta tells Goku that he must fight him himself. The two do, and Vegeta's completely overwhelmed. This is until he gets the motivation from seeing Bulma, Trunks, Future Trunks, and Kaba. He pushes himself past his limits and creates a final Gallic gun and eliminates Toppo and exhausts himself, going back into his base form as he does it. Jiren fights Vegeta just as he did in the show, knocking him out of the ring. Vegeta then gives Goku a bit of his energy and tells him to do it, Goku turning Ultra Instinct. Jiren then powers up to his full power as well. All the destroyers and angels stand up, as two mortals are beyond the powers of most destroyers. The two have the same fight as they did in the show. Goku is able to defeat Jiren, powers too much for him, and overwhelms his body. Goku and Frieza team up just as did in the show to eliminate Jiren, but this time with help from Android 17. Android 17, just before he's about to be eliminated, kicks himself off and lands back in the arena, and he is announced the winner of the Tournament of Power. Universe 7 celebrates as they're the winners, jumping all over Beerus, who is happy, but definitely conflicted. The Pride Troopers then lift up Jiren, as they're proud of him, even though he feels disappointed in himself. They tell Jiren that they are proud of him, and Jiren then takes them in as his own, saying that he will fight with them from now on, and not just by himself. Before Belmont is to be erased, dark cloud hovers above the tournament. Beerus stands up and says he knows what happened to him a long time ago. He knows who put him into the coma. Everyone is shocked, and Beerus goes on to explain what happened. Beerus says all the other destroyers had a reason to go after him, except for Belmont. He also says he saw the power of his manipulation earlier with his groupie follower, and that eventually he's be able to put together the pieces and know that it was him who did it. Belmont stands up and laughs as he powers up. He explained what had happened to him a long time ago, 75 million years ago. He was training to become one of the original Pride Troopers as the group just begun. Now, time works differently in this universe, so technically that would have been for them about 12,000 years ago. He was denied for the Pride Troopers for being too weak. In his anger, Belmont went after the most powerful destroyer at the time, Beerus. He gave Beerus poison that was supposed to kill him, but instead put him in a coma for a long term. Elder Supreme Kai walked in on what was happening and trapped Elderly Supreme Kai in his own sword. When Belmont eventually went to the original founder of the Pride Troopers, he was disgusted and rejected Belmont even more. In his rage, Belmont killed the Pride Trooper. Eventually, Belmont would become a destroyer. Once Jiren joined the Pride Troopers, Belmont saw his power and potential, so he went after the man who killed Jiren's parents, killed him himself, and told him to forever chase after a ghost while under his control. Everyone is enraged, and they ask Whis if he knew. He says he did, but he was trying to prevent a civil war when they found out that Belmont was the man who committed this crime against Beerus. And once Elderly Supreme Kai was released, he asked him to keep it a secret, as he did not want a civil war with the destroyers. Beerus stands up and says it's too late. Him and Belmont fight. The two are evenly matched, but in the end, Beerus is able to win and Akai's Belmont from existence. After destroying Belmont, Beerus makes his wish and wishes for all the destroyers except for Belmont to be returned. His wish is granted, and once he is, Toppo becomes the new God of Destruction for Universe 11, and Jiren becomes the new leader of the Pride Troopers. Everyone celebrates, but Beerus still looks serious, and he asks the Grand Priest for one more wish. The Grand Priest says, perhaps. Beerus says he wishes to no longer be a destroyer. The Grand Priest then makes his wish come true, and Beerus explains that he no longer wants to be a destroyer because he has broken their rules and broken their tradition, and he wants to regain the strength that he once had. Everyone is sad and confused, but looking for the new destroyer. Goku stands up and says Monako will be a perfect candidate. Everyone falls down and is shocked by this. The Grand Priest, with some sweat falling down, says Monako will be a perfect God of Destruction, and is given the title. He's also given a little bit of power, so he's not just completely weak. Kaba, Khalifa, and Frost are very emotional once they see Universe 7 is about to leave, as they don't know if they will ever see them again. But all the Masters, Goku, Vegeta, and Piccolo, reassure them that they will see them again one day. And so Universe 6 says goodbye to Universe 7, as does Universe 11. Beerus then looks at Goku and tells him that he wants to fight him one more time, since they are both now on the same power level. 1 week later, the two fight in the Rocky Mountains. They go through each one of their transformations and powers, but Goku still can't quite master Ultra Instinct until Beerus is able to the full extent of Ultra Instinct, even beyond that of when he fought Jiren. The two fight, and it comes down to one final punch, and Goku is able to win, knocking out Beerus. Later, Beerus and Whis are going to leave Earth, and they tell the Z-Warriors goodbye. Beerus also tells Goku that he wants another fight with him once he's regained his full power that he had in the past, and then some. Goku smiles and agrees. Whis and Beerus then fly off and lead the Dragon Team, ending the Tournament of Power. Broly, I actually really like this movie, and I don't think there's too much you actually have to change, but there's just a couple things I would like to have seen that could have been a little bit cooler in my opinion. But overall, the story's going to stay the same. During the deep backstory, when King Cold arrives, Frieza's going to be named Emperor of the Universe on this day. And now, Vegeta's actually going to be born this exact same day to a natural birth from his mother. Yeah, no test tube baby stuff. I absolutely despise that. But once Vegeta is born, their mother is very proud and happy, and so is King Vegeta. But King Vegeta also gets a message that Broly is born on this exact same day as well, and has immense power level. Paragus takes Broly off just as he did in the original movie, and the two have to live on a desolate planet just as they did in the movie. Skipping ahead, we're actually going to put this in year 784, so just right before the Peaceful World Saga and right before the World Martial Arts Tournament. Goku's going to have the blue gi and Vegeta's going to be in his regular clothes. It's just going to be 1 month right before they meet Oob. So we're going to start with Vegeta's brother, Tarbell, who they explain is actually Vegeta's brother, who's teaming up with Jocko and is part of the Galactic Patrol. They fly into Earth in contact with Bulma, but once they do, they run into Tights. Now, Tights and Jocko have actually had a relationship back in the past, where they went on missions together and did a bunch of fun stuff. So we're going to implement that. Tights is Bulma's sister. Once Tarbell, Tights, and Jocko are all introduced to each other on Earth, they're about to go see Bulma until they hear distress. Once they hear it, they decide to go after it themselves instead of telling anybody. They fly all the way out deep into space and go find Broly. So Tights is going to play the same role that Sheila did in the movie. The big difference is, instead of just going with the Frieza Force, they're going to be taken in a soft hostage situation. Jocko, Tights, and Tarbell are going to have to make a video telling Vegeta and Goku to meet them on Earth. Paragus and Broly have the exact same relationship, and the Frieza Force gets the Dragon Balls the exact same way, and Frieza wants the same wish. When Broly comes out, he doesn't fight Vegeta first, he fights Goku first. Goku goes Ultra Instinct and fights against Broly. The two are evenly matched, but this is when Vegeta steps up. Now, Broly doesn't have the hatred he has against Goku in this movie. He has that exact same hatred towards Vegeta, as Paragus constantly showed him propaganda against King Vegeta, showing him in his face, reminding him of him constantly. Vegeta begins to fight Broly, but Goku says there's no way Vegeta's going to be able to stand a chance. That's when Vegeta does it. He turns Ultra Ego. Now, I want Ultra Ego to actually have eyebrows. I hate the fact that he doesn't have eyebrows. It looks so weird on him. Frieza kills Paragus just as he did in the movie, and Broly goes Super Saiyan. Goku and Vegeta try to fight him off, but are overwhelmed. This is when the two disappear, and Frieza gets beat up by Broly. Except, after Frieza's knocked out of his golden form, this is when the rest of the Z Warriors show up to try to fight against Broly. Goku and Vegeta fuse and make Gogeta. Gogeta fights Broly just as he did in the movie, except when Gogeta goes full power, he becomes Ultra Gogeta, having both the powers of Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct, and his sort of dark silverish hair. Tights wishes away Broly and saves him. The movie pretty much ends the exact same way. Now, Tights and Broly go away and have a sort of Jane and Tarzan relationship. Jocko and Tarbell are going to leave and just go back to the Galactic Patrol, leaving the two together. But this is when Goku shows up. Broly wants to fight him, but Goku reassures him that he didn't come here to fight him again. He says Broly's the most amazing fighter he's ever fought against, and he wants to fight him again someday. Broly's unsure, and Tights tells Goku that she will take care of Broly. Goku leaves, saying the name Kakarot, just as he did in the movie, ending it. Dragon Ball Super Rewrite Part 2. Now this is going to be after the events of Z. Yes, in this version we're actually going to do a time skip going all the way past even the end of where GT would have been. Now the events of GT are not going to be canon to this. This is going to be set 1 year after GT would have ended. So the year 791, Oob is going to be 17 years old. Pan is going to be 12 years old. Bulla is going to be 11 years old. And for Pan, she's just going to be a girl version of Goku. Orange gi, blue underneath, with the Power Pole and Nimbus flying around with her. Bulla is going to be a true combination of Bulma and Vegeta, headstrong nature of both of them, the intelligence of Bulma, the work ethic and fighting prowess of Vegeta. So here we go, we're going to rewrite the Moro and Granola arc. So Oob, Goku, and Pan are all training together at Goku's house. Now Oob also is going to have Goku's gi on at this time, and then they get a message that they have to get ready to go to Bulma's house for a get-together. So they fly all the way to Capsule Corp to prepare for the get-together. Before they do, Vegeta, Bulla, and Trunks are all training in his gravity chamber. A malfunction happens in the chamber, and Bulla starts to work on it and eventually fixes it. Trunks then says he has to go to a meeting at Capsule Corp as he is the president. Once the party is all for the Dragon Team, Jocko and Tarbell arrive from the Galactic Patrol. Jocko gets a message on his wrist saying that there's been an attack on planet Yardrat, and the call goes dead right after he gets it. Goku, Oob, Vegeta, Jocko, and Tarbell all get together to go after planet Yardrat to help them. Pan wants to join along, but Goku says she's just too young right now. So we're going to have Yardrat be like the manga is. So the Yardratian people have a face they put in front of everybody, a face that's actually real. That way we connect both the manga and the anime together, just like the manga did. I think that's actually a cool aspect that they put in with it. So when they all get there, everybody's really afraid of Vegeta when they first see him, because they've heard the stories of the murderer known as Prince Vegeta. Vegeta gets pretty angry with it and flies off. But they're excited once they see Goku and ask him how he's been. It's been so long. He says he's been good and that he's with his student Oob. Vegeta's investigating what's happening to the planet by himself, and when he does it, a black hooded figure appears behind him. Vegeta turns around and prepares for a fight, but the hooded figure pulls out a black crystal. Going back to Goku and the gang, Goku feels Vegeta's energy drop completely, and he says be on the lookout, something bad's about to happen. Another hooded figure appears behind them. Goku goes Ultra Instinct, and this hooded figure pulls out a white orb. King Kai then contacts the Z-Warriors on Earth. He tells them something very bad has happened, that Goku and Vegeta's energy has disappeared. Everyone is shocked by this, and then they see up in the sky an Galactic Patrol spaceship crashing into Earth. They all run up and see the pod doors open, and an injured Oob falls out. Once they tend to Oob, he's too injured to speak. They look up and see another spaceship coming to Earth. They all get up and prepare for a fight, but once they do and the spaceship door opens up, out walks Granola. Now Granola in this is going to be physically 16 years old, so much younger than we see him in the manga. Granola goes on to explain his backstory. He says he was the prince of planet Cereal. In the year 735, his people were attacked by the Saiyans. He watched his 3 older brothers die, and during one of the final raids by the Saiyans, he was knocked unconscious and put into a coma. Oatmeal then has to explain the rest of the story as he doesn't remember it. His father put him in a cryogenic state and then sent him off as a spaceship as the Saiyans were turning ape and killing everybody. The Saiyans attacked his spaceship and knocked him off course, where they would go wandering in space for the next 60 plus years. Granola finally woke up 2 days ago and they went to the first available planet, which happened to be Earth. The Z-Warriors all look at each other very concerned and agree silently not to talk about the Saiyans or tell Granola. Oob is given a sensu bean, but still can't remember what happened on Yardrat. He tries to think, but only draws a blank. This is when the Grand Supreme Kai takes over Majin Buu's body and explains the situation. He tells them that the cult of Moro had taken over Yardrat and was attacking them. Just hearing the name, the cult of Moro, Oob begins to shake and sweat, and he thinks of Moro as a picture of him runs through his mind. Oob then remembers what had happened. He feels a dark presence coming over him as he remembers the man in the black robes. Once the man in the black robes had appeared and Moro's face came across Oob, Oob began to change, and an evil presence take him over. Goku then had to try to stop him, but was trapped in the white crystal, just as Vegeta was. He then had an internal struggle with himself, and was able to get back on Jocko's ship, helped thanks to the Yardrats, who sent him away just in time. Supreme Kai then tells him that 10 million years ago, Moro was devouring enormous amounts of planets, so the Supreme Kais of all 12 universes united and sealed him away in a planet. That's why the cult of Moro is learning instant transmission to find the hidden planet, and to free Moro. Grand Supreme Kai tells them that they need to hurry and get ready to leave within 24 hours to go help them, because within 24 hours they will find the planet and free Moro. During that time, Granola stays at Capsule Corp with the rest of the Z-Warriors. He wakes up from a nightmare and tells Pan of the pain that he had felt during his past. She wants to tell him so badly of the truth, but is stopped by Piccolo. Goten is unsure if he wants to actually go with them and train or not. He says they can deal with it, and he'd much rather spend time talking to girls. That's when he sees Marin. He hasn't seen her in a long time, and isn't entranced by her beauty. He then agrees to go on that next day with them. Krillin, Yamcha, 17, and 18 agree to stay on Earth in case anything happens while they're away. Gohan, Granola, Pan, Bulla, Goten, Trunks, Tien, Piccolo, Grand Supreme Kai, and Oob use instant transmission and leave to planet Moro. The planet is a desert when they arrive. Storms attacking it constantly. The Grand Supreme Kai says they hid the opening to the tomb somewhere under the desert, or even he can't find it. They begin to search the planet, and the team splits up. Once they do, this is going to be inspired by BoJack Unbound. You're going to have all the characters from the BoJack gang appears. Piccolo fights Beto and gets beat up. Tien fights Kogo and kills him the way Trunks did in the movie, using the Kaioken to punch him instead of going Super Saiyan. BoJack appears in the shadows and knocks out Tien. Trunks and Goten fight Zanga. She tries to seduce Goten. Trunks saves Goten by kicking her in the face. Pan and Bulla team up to fight Bujin. While they're fighting him, Bulla is put in the strings trance. She becomes super angry and then goes Super Saiyan, breaking the strings from her. Bujin then leaves. Gohan, Granola, Grand Supreme Kai, and Oob find the entrance to unlocking Moro from his tomb on the planet. 2 hooded members of the cult of Moro appear behind them. They have Jocko, Tarble, and a Yardrat in chains. Yardrat apologizes and says he didn't want to do what they told him, but they said they would kill his family if he didn't. The cult holds 2 crystals, one light, one dark. They put them together and make a yin and yang crystal. They say this is the power of Goku and Vegeta within it, and this is to unlock Moro. BoJack appears with Piccolo and Tien over his shoulders. He throws both men onto the ground, and the cult of Moro members put the Grand Supreme Kai in the strings trance. BoJack then looks at Oob, who puts a picture of Moro into his mind as the young man falls to the ground in fear. Gohan and Granola team up to fight against BoJack. Granola then cries out for Oob and shoots at one of the cult members trying to unlock Moro. He yells at Oob, who finally faces his fears, runs up and removes the Yin Yang device. During the fight against BoJack, Gohan is overwhelmed and is about to be killed by him. This is when Pan rages up and turns Super Saiyan, blocking the shot that could have killed her father. The tide turns on the BoJack gang. As Bulla kills Bujin, Grand Supreme Kai kills Beto, BoJack kills Zanga, just like he did in the movie. Gohan then powers up and kills BoJack, just like he did did in the movie. The day is saved, and they return to Earth. Oob is ashamed as he tells Granola, but Granola reassures him that he did what he could, and he faced his fear when he had the chance to, and he helped save everybody. Oob feels a lot better about this now. Once they're back on Earth, they unlock the crystals, freeing Goku and Vegeta from their prison. Everybody is so excited and happy to see both of them. That is, except for Granola. He sees a flashback of King Vegeta and Bardock attacking his planet, and then going ape and killing everybody. Granola is in a sweat and punches Vegeta right in the face, but Vegeta doesn't even react to the punch. Granola then shouts at everybody that they are Saiyans and they lied to him. Pan tries to talk to him, but Granola does not want to hear any of it and leaves for his ship and flies off. Granola is in his ship crying face down on his pillow. He's talking to Oatmeal, and Oatmeal says he knew all along, but he did not want to disrupt his peace and his happiness that he had not seen from the young man in so long. In the darkness, he hears a voice talking to him, and he feels the presence of Moro. He says he understands his anger and pain, and wants to help Granola have revenge against the Saiyans. Granola is unsure, but then Moro convinces him, showing flashbacks of what the Saiyans did to Planet Cereal. Granola accepts, but he asks how can he free him. He says the power from Goku Vegeta remain and Planet Moro, and that all he has to do is unlock it. Granola travels to the planet and frees Moro. So Moro is going to look exactly like he did in the manga, like an old man the entire time. He's not going to have the motivation to try to look younger because the use of magic has made him look old, but he's still just as powerful as he ever would be. So there's no point of him trying to look younger. The cult of Moro and the gang arrive on planet Earth. They terrorize the planet. 7-3 stealing powers from all the Z Warriors. Granola shows up just to stand as the Z Warriors look shocked at him. Moro just looks at Oob, who's stricken with fear and falls to the ground. He then beats up Grand Supreme Kai. He kills Piccolo and absorbs the souls of Master Roshi and Yamcha. Goku and Vegeta team up and fight against Moro, but he absorbs their power, leaving them completely drained. Moro then knocks out Grand Supreme Kai with just one kick. Once much of the Earth has been destroyed, Moro tells his gang and Granola to get back on the ship and watch from the planet. He then opens his mouth and begins to absorb all the souls on planet Earth. This is when Tien jumps up, creates an energy shield protecting everybody for as long as he can. He tells Goku and everyone to leave. Goku grabs as many people as he can for the instant transmission. Pan reaches out for Gohan and Videl, but just as she is about to touch them, the barrier breaks. Tien and everybody else is absorbed, and Goku has no choice and enter transmissions off the planet. Only Goku, Vegeta, Pan, Bulla, Bulma, Goten, Marin, Krillin, 17, Hercule, Grand Supreme Kai, and Oob make it out alive. The rest have been absorbed by Moro, and they tell them that they can't even make it to the afterlife as they're trapped within Moro and absorbed by his power. 17 is heartbroken and angry, holding up Goku responsible, punching him in the face and knocking him to the ground. Krillin is also furious at Goku. Marin is heartbroken, but comforted by Goten. Bulma can't even speak, as she is so traumatized by the loss of Trunks and her family. The Dragon Team has been revealed to have teleported to Planet Salad in Universe 6. Goku explains if they had stayed in Universe 7, they would have been hunted down by Moro. This gives them a little bit more time to train and come up with a strategy to fight against him, maybe about 6 months. On Planet Sadala, they find Kaba, who's grown to be an adult man. They then meet Khalifa, who's revealed to be the princess of all the Saiyans, daughter of King Sadala. King Sadala is then revealed to the group. He can look like he did in Dragon Ball Kakame. I like that design and look of him. The king meets Vegeta, who says he's the prince in the other universe. The two become quick friends, and he even boasts that his son should marry Vegeta's daughter, that way to keep the royal bloodlines together. And one of his sons looks at Bulla, smiles, but Bulla shakes her head in embarrassment. Hit and Frost also arrive on the planet to help the team. The Dragon Team prepares for the threat and goes off to train in their individual groups. Planet Sadal is going to have a very similar look to it the way Middle Ages Europe and feudal Japan did, with large beautiful castles. King Sadala arrives, and he asks Vegeta not to use the Super Saiyan transformation or to teach anybody else it. Vegeta is shocked by this, but agrees. But unfortunately, he goes back on his word. He teaches the other Saiyans in the army this transformation. King Sadala then arrives and is furious at Vegeta. The two end up fighting. Vegeta wins the fight, and King Sadala reveals his backstory. That when he had won his throne, he had used a transformation, but unfortunately had killed many of his comrades, and even Khalifa's mother, who she had just given birth to Khalifa not long before. King Sadala is ashamed of himself and says he cannot forgive himself for doing that day. Vegeta then reveals that Kaba and Khalifa both know the transformation, and that the Universe 7 Saiyans have mastered it. King Sadala is shocked by this, and relents, and tells him that he can use a transformation and teach it to others. The Dragon Team all goes off to train with their individual groups. Vegeta with the King Sadala deep within the planet's core in a lava-filled environment. Goku with Hit on his planet. Oob, Kaba, and Grand Supreme Kai go off to train. 17, Krillin, Goten, Kale, Khalifa, Bulla, Pan, and Frost all train together. While training, Kaba and Oob become close friends. Kaba reveals that he's the highest ranked Saiyan warrior in the planet. He also tells them that he has a crush on Khalifa and has always cared for her, but he feels unworthy to be with the princess. Oob says he feels fear towards Moro and doesn't believe in himself, and he fears growing to be like Majin Buu was one day. They both agree to face their fears and overcome them. Pan and Caulifla talk. Pan is angry at herself and at Goku for not being able to save Gohan and her family. Caulifla says Goku trained her in the past, to Pan's shock. She also says she doesn't want to be a princess, but knows her family and people need her. Pan and her focus and train harder together. Kale and Bulla talk. Kale reveals that when she was a baby, she was abandoned, found by the royal family, and brought home to be a friend for Caulifla. She feels forever in their debt because of that, and will train as hard as she possibly can, though she does have problems dealing with her anger and her emotion. Bulla understands not being able to control her anger and emotion, and both of them agree to work on it. Bulla then goes up to her mother and promises her that they will defeat Moro and return their family to the way it was before. Goten grows close to Marin. He also talks with Frost, who they both share a joy and a love for superheroes, and agree to start a team one day together. Almost 6 months have passed. Moro's army arrives and catches everyone off guard, as they thought they would have a little bit more time to prepare. As soon as Moro's ship lands on the planet, the Saiyan army gets into action along with the Z-Warriors. The Saiyan army goes to fight Moro's. Oob sees Granola and immediately goes after him. The two are furious at each other and blame each other for betraying one another as they fight in the sky. Krillin fights Yunba and knocks him out with the Kamehameha just as he did in the manga. 17 blindsides 73, pummels him to the ground and blasts off his left arm. Goten fights two Cult of Moro members, turns blue and knocks them both out as Marin cheers on from the background. Bulla and Pan fight Songba, and both of them together just aren't strong enough to beat him. This is until Pan rages out and knocks him to the ground. Frost fights Bakara Korda, the machine-type guy, and blasts him into a million pieces. Kale and Caulifla fight the female convicts, who fuse together. Kale and Caulifla smile at each other and do the exact same, making Kefla, knocking out the female convicts and then separating as they become too powerful to hold the Patara earrings. Moro then descends from his ship. Granola and Oob stop fighting as Oob and the Grand Supreme Kai team up to fight against Moro. Oob is still stricken with fear and not able to battle as well as he could, fighting his demon side. He does shoot a blast at Moro, who gleefully cheers and tries to absorb the power, but has his hand blasted in pain as he's shocked looking at Oob. The Grand Supreme Kai is being smacked around, and then Moro decides to give some power back to Songba, just like he did in the manga, making him overload with power and fight against the Z-Warriors. Goku arrives going Ultra Instinct, hitting Songba and knocking him to the ground. Hit decides to finish the job. Hit uses his time skip to land 1,000 punches and kill him. Goku is displeased with him. Everybody is impressed with how far Goku has gotten with his Ultra Instinct power. Moro then blasts Goku from behind, but Krillin throws a Destructo Disc, splitting the blast into two. Goku and Krillin smile at each other. Goku and Moro fight. They're close, but Moro has a slight advantage against Goku, punching him from every angle. That's when Vegeta arrives out of nowhere, punching Moro in the face and knocking him to the ground. Vegeta and King Sadala have arrived. The king blasts Moro's army and kills most of them. Vegeta and Moro fight. It goes like it does in the manga, except Vegeta's in Ultra Ego form. He uses the Force Spirit Fission and liberates many of the lost souls from Moro's power, and Moro begins to become weaker and weaker. This is when Moro decides to blind Vegeta and the rest of the Z-Warriors and devour 7-3 just as he did in the manga, turning him into a new transformation. Moro beats up Vegeta with the rest of the Z-Warriors. Hit goes in, but Moro snaps his neck, killing him. King Sadala then turns Super Saiyan, but Moro absorbs his soul. With King Sadala's death, Caulifla cries out for her father, and Kaba rages out, turning Super Saiyan Rage, just as Trunks had done. Oob then stands up and fights against Moro, who's now even more powerful after absorbing King Sadala's soul. They fight together against Moro, but it's still not enough. Kaba is knocked to the ground and knocked out of his transformation. Moro then goes in for the kill against Oob, but Grand Supreme Kai jumps in front of him and is stabbed through the chest. Grand Supreme Kai then tells Oob he's the only person who can defeat him. While in his dying breath, he gives Oob all of his power. Oob then unlocks his ultimate transformation, as he did in GT. Oob and Moro fight each other to an even standstill. Moro then gets desperate, creating a sphere around him, Granola, and Oob. He then tells Granola that he must help him defeat Oob. Pan cries out to Granola and says she's sorry that they all lied to them, that they're sorry for what they had done to them and what the Saiyans had done to his home planet. Granola shakes his head, but he looks around at the destruction caused by Moro and his gang, and he sees his home planet cereal. This is when Granola faces the truth and turns on Moro, blasting him in his forehead where the crystal is, destroying it. Moro becomes enraged and blasts Granola to the ground. Oob and Moro do a test of strength, gripping each other's hands. Oob does the Avatar state like Goku did in the manga. Oob then destroys Moro's body, freeing all the lost souls. Everyone celebrates the victory, but Granola's on the ground, ashamed of himself. He looks up and sees Vegeta walking up to him. Vegeta prepares a blast to destroy him. Granola accepts his fate, closing his eyes, but Vegeta stops the ki blast and tells Granola that he was far worse than he was long ago, and that if he can be redeemed, so can Granola for what he has done. Granola apologizes to everybody, and they accept. They then wish back everybody who died using the Namekian Dragon Balls, except for the King of Sadala, Tien, Yamcha, and Hit,
who all say they've lived a full life and wish to stay in the afterlife. Kabla and Khalifa get married and become the new king of queen of planet Sadala. Returning back home, Pan cries in her parents' arms. Bulma, Bola, Trunks all share a hug. Vegeta crosses his arms outside of the hug until Bulma pulls him in. He looks angry at first and resents it, but then decides to give in and smile with his family. Pan hugs Granola, as does Oob and the entire younger generation. Granola then reveals he's going back to see his home planet, but he will return. He goes to his home planet of Planet Cereal. After the Saiyans conquered it, a new alien race brought it and colonized it, but after Frieza was first killed, they abandoned the new cities and everything they built, leaving it for destruction. Granola looks around at the rubble and goes to his former home. It's covered in moss and rubble and litters on the floor, but the castles that once stood tall are still standing. He sees his father's castle, goes inside to the throne room. He picks up his family's symbol and places it on his chest.
Dragon Ball Superhero Rewrite. So this is going to take place in the year 793. It's going to be a year and a half after the events of the Moro and Granola arc in this rewrite. Gohan, Goten, Oob, and Frost are all dressed as superheroes and stop a gang of bank robbers. Gohan is dressed as Great Saiyan Man, Goten is dressed as Great Fuso Man, Oob is going to be Papaya Man, and Frost is going to be Frozo Man, making the Dragon Heroes team. After stopping the bank robbers and putting them all in prison, the group celebrates together. Pan, Marin, and Videl all cheer them on, while Bullet, Trunks, and Piccolo shake their heads. Piccolo flies off. A little while later, Marin gets a FaceTime from her father, who has been beaten up and collapses to the ground. Back at his home, Piccolo is meditating by himself in his castle. Gamma 2 shows up and starts talking to Piccolo after shooting at him. Piccolo dodges the attack, and Gamma 2 keeps calling him Demon King Piccolo. The two get in a fight, and Piccolo ends up getting beaten up by him, having a bunch of boulders collapse all over him. He then shouts that he's defeated a villain. This is when Gamma 1 shows up, holding an unconscious 17 and 18 over his shoulders. Piccolo is still alive from the blast and looks up from the rubble and sees the two flying off. He then stands up and flies to the lookout. Back to the hero team. They help heal an injured Krillin, and he tells them what had happened. The Gamma 1 showed up, putting 18 in a mechanical trance, threw her over his shoulders, and said that he was going to rebuild the Red Ribbon Army the way it once was. Back to Piccolo. He arrives on the lookout and talks with Dende. Dende says he knows what happened to him, and he knows he wants to get more power to be able to help and save the world. Dende offers himself up for fusion, but just before Piccolo is about to touch his chest, he pulls away and says no, then he needs to do it on his own. Piccolo then goes and gets Kami's old ship and flies to New Namek. In the Red Ribbon base, Gamma 1 and 2 arrive. They talk with Android 21, who begins working on 17 and 18 to rebuild them and make them super. She says they will rebuild the Red Ribbon Army, that they will save the world just as the Red Ribbon did in the past, and then showing the Red Ribbon as a triumphant, superhero-like team. When Piccolo arrives on Namek, he talks to the Namekian Elder and asks if he knows Piccolo's true name or what caused the drought so long ago. He says no, tells him to go check the ancient temples underneath the ocean. Back on Earth, Bulla is researching the Red Ribbon Army. She finds a lot of information about them and tells him the new location of its new base. The Dragon team then heads off after the location. Bulla says she's going to stay back and research a little bit more, but will be there soon. Back on Namek, Piccolo dives in the ocean towards the temples. On the inside, there is no water, so he's allowed to read the scrolls uninhibited. While he does, he reads about the disappearance of the original Namekian, Zalama, the man who created the Super Dragon Balls. After his disappearance, the Namekians begin fighting each other over the Dragon Balls and what to do with them. The negative energy and the Civil War caused a drought in the year 261. Kados, Kami's father, sent him away on a ship during the drought. Duru was sealed in this temple and was able to survive the drought, being the last Namekian. Piccolo tries to remember his name, but it's blocked by a laugh by the Demon King Piccolo as a picture of him runs through his mind. But out from the shadows doesn't walk Demon King Piccolo, but Zalama. On Earth, the Dragon team arrived at Red Ribbon Base. It's raining in the background. Gohan fights Gamma 1. Goten and Frost fight Gamma 2. Pan arrives dressed in a hero costume, claiming to be the Great Saiya Girl. She is the 5th member of the Dragon Hero team. Android 21 then walks out, and she says she's here to rebuild the heroes of the Red Ribbon and to defeat the villain Goku and his followers. Super 17 and 18 are then revealed to the group. 18 fights Pan and Krillin. Granola then arrives after being gone for so long. He is revealed to have his own hero costume and be the 6th member of the Rangers. Dragon Hero team. He fights against 17, as Oob fights Android 21. Zalama takes Piccolo to hell, much like Dante and Virgil in the Divine Comedy. The two search after Demon King Piccolo, who is the only man who knows his true name. Once they find his father, Piccolo and Demon King Piccolo fight each other, but not in a physical battle, in a spiritual one. One that Piccolo ends up winning. Once he does, Demon King Piccolo reveals his true name, Arturius. Once Piccolo says the name, he has his power unlocked. Zalama then takes Piccolo back to the lookout on Earth. When Piccolo has his back turned to him, he disappears. While Krillin is fighting Android 18, she has a flashback to her earlier years. When her and 17 were teenagers, Their parents had died. They had gone into foster care and bounced around from home to home. They lived in the mountains over where Dr. Giroux's lab was, and eventually one day he kidnapped them both and experimented on them using the android technology. Krillin then talks to his wife and is able to break the trance from her. Granola is able to defeat Android 17, and they break the trance on him as well. Goku and Vegeta then arrive on the scene. Android 21 becomes furious seeing Goku, and she transforms into her Majin Buu state. Goku and Vegeta then transform into their Ultra forms as well. They fight against Android 21 and are able to overcome her, much like they did against Jiren. But Android 21 will not give up so easily, and she throws Goku into a portal, much like Samurai Jack had happened to him. Vegeta is then blindsided by her. Oob then powers up to his ultimate power, and he fights against Android 21, but she is able to defeat him. This is when Piccolo arrives on the scene. Piccolo then fights 21, but she knocks him off the red ribbon and down a crevice. While he is falling, he sees a vision of all the Namekians, and he sees Shenron, and he roars at him. Piccolo then has his true power unlocked, and he becomes that orange form. We're just going to call this the true Super Namekian transformation. Gamma 2 then charges after him, punches him in the chest, but to no avail. Piccolo then one-shots him, knocking him out. Piccolo flies after Android 21 and is able to defeat her. This is when Bulla arrives on the scene. She has a guess and pulls out Dr. Hito. Only this time he looks like a younger version of Android 16. He explains to her that he is her grandson. He tells her the truth about the Red Ribbon Army, that after they were defeated, Android 16 was killed. Dr. Gero gave her false memories of what the Red Ribbon Army actually was. With tears in her eyes, she accepts the truth. But this is when Cell Max arrives. So this isn't going to be the Cell Max you saw in the movie. This is actually going to be a Cell Jr. He explains that him and his brothers were tamed by Android 17 on their island. But he was not okay living in peace, unlike his brothers were. Eventually, he found it at his heart and wanted revenge for his father. So he used Dr. Gero's machines in order to gain power and become this ultimate Cell Max form. He then was able to unlock and awaken Android 21, and help Gamma 1 and Gamma 2 kidnap Android 17. He's far more powerful than his father, but looks just like Cell Max did in that form, only no hammer on the tail, and he can actually talk, and isn't just a mindless monster. Cell Jr., Max, and Piccolo have a kaiju fight in their huge transformations. The two are dead even, and at a stalemate. This is when Cell Jr. blinds everybody and absorbs Android 21, becoming the Golden Cell Jr. He beats up Piccolo and the rest of the Dragon team. He prepares to kill everybody, but Gohan jumps in front of the blast. Gohan thinks of his family, and transforms into Beast Gohan. His power is like that of Gogeta's when he combined both Ultra Ego and Ultra Instinct, but he is far more powerful than Gogeta was during that time. Cell Jr. and Gohan fight. They're both dead even when it comes to power, but Gohan is able to defeat him due to his superior martial art technique. Cell Jr. is going to destroy the world though. This is when Gamma 2 flies up all the way into the sky, dives headfirst into Cell Jr.'s stomach, and makes him vomit up Android 21, but killing Gamma 2 in the process. Gohan wastes no time, charges up the special beam cannon, hits Cell Max Jr. right in the forehead, and kills him. Just as Android 21 and Gamma 1 apologize to everybody, a huge explosion goes off in the Red Ribbon base. Android 21 says that the explosion will destroy many cities around them and take countless lives. She then tells everybody to fly off and that she will turn off the machine herself. She flies down to the machines, and a mini explosion goes off as everybody watches. The Red Ribbon Army falls into the ocean and is destroyed forever. Everyone is sad, but they congratulate each other as the city is saved and so is the world. Pan looks up and wonders where Goku is. While floating in darkness, Goku hears a voice talking to him. He looks around, and from the shadows appears Beerus.